But welcome everybody. Be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to hit the subscribe button.
I remember in middle school when you felt self-conscious if you were the last one to go through puberty. That really went topsy-turvy, didn't it?
Sometimes the Hasbara, it's too much explaining yourself and it's too apologetic.
Be sure to hit the notifications bell.
I actually do believe Israel won't just bomb countless civilians.
Be sure to tweet this out. Be sure to put this up on your Facebook.
You have to be kind to people. Be kind to the guys in this mess in the first place.
Put this up on your Reddit.
Chile is a country.
Be sure to cut and paste, a link to this to go into your favorite Facebook chat group.
It's good to see so many normal people in here.
Now, spanking isn't just my deep, dark personal secret. It's America's deep, dark secret.
I've never seen it explained so simply anywhere.
Put this on WhatsApp. Put this on Telegram. Put this on your favorite messenger app.
Hello and welcome to the Untitled Anarchist Seagull channel. I'm your host, an Untitled Anarchist Seagull, and I think we've got some interesting stuff for tonight. How's everybody doing? From the suggestions I've been hearing, apparently I had some, for some reason I had sort of a sense that there was something dodgy about Westside Tyler, though I'd never really watched him. I just feel like there was something I picked up along the way. And from Shakespeare there was a suggestion, and possibly also from River Rune. Let me just make sure. Oh, actually, a Shakespeare suggestion. Most of my suggestions have come from River Rune, and they've been very good suggestions. But apparently, there is some shittiness. There is a whole bunch of shittiness in the direction of Westside Tyler, and sounds worth checking out. We've also got a few other things once I get the window where I need it to be. And my mouse. So, Ethan Klein, hello River Rune, it has got a video about how Denims is suing him. It's really surprising that more people aren't suing him, actually, after all this shit. We've got from Secular Talk, from the Lib Zone, bombshell CIA orchestrating Gaza genocide. Like, why is that a bombshell? That was obvious. Like, if Israel's doing something, then the US government wants them to do it, and so you can be pretty sure the CIA is involved in that shit. Like, I don't know why that's a bombshell, but apparently it's a bombshell. Then, from more lib bullshit, we've got Kurzgesagt, or as I call them, Furzgesagt, is the world getting more violent? About how peaceful the world is now. I saw a video from Bridget Empire about how completely full of shit that take was. And I thought it might be worth checking out. And then also, from Noah Sampson, we've got what looks like it might be an interesting video. The truth about the Israeli diplomat shooter. And then Westside Tyler. Lefties, everyone's favorite term. Lefties need to focus on working people. But then there's also this from the potential news you can use section. You'll remember we looked at a video a few weeks ago that was about defeating LRADs and the different things that you can do. That showed up in my Rex. This also showed up in my Rex, and it's using cheap software-defined radios to track drones and jammers. And that sounds kind of interesting. I'm kind of into software-defined radio. I think it's really cool technology. For anyone who's not familiar with it, essentially, you have software that controls a radio receiver, and you can basically put it on any frequency you want. And I mean, you can. There are web-based software-defined radio stations where you can just go and tune in a receiver all over the world, and just play around with the dial and see what you get. Yeah, I mean, it's the places you'll get like somebody's microwave or something, sending sending to its Wi-Fi or whatever. So I mean, I was kind of curious about that as well, but I say we start out with West Side Tyler. Lefties need to focus on working people.
This is a real. You can meet him. You might be him in the chat. If you have to do a lot of fucking truck stops, if you work in anywhere near automotive, you know Bill. You've seen Bill's towing. You might have had to hire him. Here he goes. Hey, when I got in my car crash, that's the guy that picked us up and dropped us off at the fucking Jiffy Lube. Kind of a weird dude. Smelled like chips. You know? Smoked too much. Still a real guy. That's part of the economic engine that makes America go around.
Okay. I mean, what I've seen about West Side Tyler is that he's entirely too proud of the fact that he was in the U.S. military and participated in the occupation of Iraq, and has actually really sort of bragged about the time he killed a guy by, assisted in killing a guy by pointing a laser. It's like, you're talking about somebody defending his country against your invading ass. I mean, I have time for some, ex-forces people who end up on the left. Greg Stoker, for example, I think is quite good. He's ex-army. But the difference is, the whole reason he is where he is politically now is because he is disgusted with what he did. Disgusted with his involvement in the invasion and occupation of Afghanistan, and it led him to have an anti-imperialist analysis and stuff. And when he brings up his military knowledge, he does it when it's relevant. It's not a flex. He's pointing out important things about a particular situation. I mean, he's been very interesting to watch on the subject of how fucking incompetent the IDF are, for example. But West Side Tyler just seems to, fucking flex with it, which is just kind of fucked up, actually. Extremely fucked up.
In city skylines, too, I like designing all my factories and industry around the otherwise bougie, low-density housing. I keep the industrial section far away from the residential areas. No pollution for my people. Harder to do in real life. Actually, very difficult. Sometimes worse. People don't even understand this. This is fun. You guys want to talk about zoning for a second? Sorry, Vosh, talk about something interesting. One of the most interesting modern difficulties in America is industrial residential balance. Right? Somebody that's actually written papers and stuff will have better ways to talk about this, but I'm going to present you the problem that comes up. Industry creates pollution, right? By necessity, it will create pollution. It just happens. It might be, this, that.
I've been specifically recommended this video because he apparently gets into some, he's going to get into some, fucked up shit, but so far, okay, we're talking about zoning.
Environmental pollution that you think of is air pollution and water pollution. It also creates two other types of pollution that people don't consider a lot of times when they're building stuff, and I don't know if they have this in games yet. Light pollution and sound pollution, which are very often more irksome to residential developments than the other kinds. Obviously, if you have something that belches out black smoke like an 18th century factory, which is not what a lot of polluting entities do these days, the pollutants are often clear, which is kind of more nefarious because you don't know they're out there, but you're breathing them in. So let's just say this creates 1,000 tons.
I mean, so far, all of what he's saying is
carbon
true.
Pollution and a high level of noise and light pollution, right? So your residents are like, move that the fuck away from us. Now, there's ways to mitigate noise and light pollution that are irksome to companies. Most noise pollution isn't really what you might think, which is industrial machines. A lot of industrial areas don't even have machines. They don't even make anything. Most industrial areas in America are used really for storage and distribution. I cannot give you figures on that. I can just tell you, all of my Amazon workers are going...
I mean, that sounds legit.
Yes. All of my semi-truck drivers are going, yeah, pretty much. You will have industrial production areas, but a lot of industrial areas are actually zoned out so that what they have in there is storage and distribution. Storage and distribution is massive. It's one of the most important subsections of the economy.
I'm gonna skip ahead a bit.
Distribution. Literally that fucking boom boom boom
This is apparently about how lefties need to focus on working people. Like, first of all, what the hell are lefties? Second of all, I would have assumed that the whole reason, part of the definition of lefties is focusing on working people.
Trucks are going all the time. Trucks are fucking loud. You Jake brake using motherfuckers. You think I don't know who you are? I know who you are. Slowing down using your compression brakes on a semi-truck in residential areas that don't have the gigantic fucking walls up, so everybody's calling into the sheriff and calling into your trucking company by your...
Okay. Okay, that clears something up. Is that there's signs you occasionally see saying, no engine braking allowed around here. And so I guess that's what they're talking about.
Somebody else's, which I mean Swift. That noise you guys heard when trucks are slowing down, it's a Jake brake. Very loud. That and then them just moving around, very loud. When the trucks are allowed to go 24/7, the money's made 24/7 because they're fossil fuels burning, rubber getting fucking stripped up, having to put down rubber, having to put down concrete. All of that creates runoff. All of that creates waste. And so you have this thing where you have to balance industrial residential. So what do? Do you put off all of the issues onto residential and move residential super far away from industrial? Boom. Everyone's happy. Industry's away. I don't have to smell the pigs being slaughtered. I don't have to hear the truck stopping. I don't have to do anything, right? Sometimes people will pay out of pocket a lot of money to get further and further away.
Yeah, I mean, understandably.
Which turns the area that's right next to the industrial area into what we like to call in business fucking shithole slum. And it will be full of...
Well, I mean, of course, it could also be in part due to simply the fact that it is inherently less desirable to live next to the high pollution areas. I don't think it's the people not wanting to live there that turns it into that. It's probably the fact that you have this these residential areas directly abutting highly polluting and irksome industrial areas.
Cheap
but
housing
okay,
for immigrants, for undesirables for the most closest city, depending on how bad the area that you live in. If it's someplace that doesn't have any regulation, you might have slums there. Really, really, really bad places that are run by really, really, really bad people. But
I mean, everyone who lives in the U.S. is living in a really, really bad place run by really, really bad people, but okay.
You get to take advantage of the conditionally used permit that no one ever double checked on for 15 years. Non-conforming apartments that were built because somebody had a fucking trade season one year and then someone else said, you know what? I'm going to buy these FEMA trailers and rent them out with a conditional use permit. How about that? Okay, sure, go ahead. Okay. I got somebody paying me $1,000 to live in a free fucking shack I got from the government. Win, 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 and win. Where are they living? Is it in a place with fucking like?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, ex-army already kind of suggests to me that, and still apparently proud enough about it to find it funny the time he fucking helped murder a guy who was just defending his country from the U.S.
Grants and shit. It's like, oh no,
that's
it's a
bad
fucking
vibe.
trailer park made out of FEMA trailers that I have literally behind my storage center.
And he's got the Richard Spencer haircut too. Damn.
You think that these places aren't real? I'm gonna blow your mind. Not only are they real, they're fucking everywhere. One of you guys might live in one. That's why you're a fucking leftist.
It's sacrifice.
Wake up every day and you step out into the back of Big John's storage. U-Haul storage. Listening to the sweet sound of people that got back from vacation cussing at each other as they try to figure out how to park a trailer. Fucking nightmare shit. So, you have all these microplastics and stuff in the air. You have these bad areas. But how do you balance them? And that is one of the... I don't have an answer. I don't have an answer for that. This is one of the most difficult questions that exists.
Well, I mean, one of the obvious things would be probably not to completely deregulate the polluters. I mean, I'm not saying that I think he would disagree with that, but I mean, a big part of why this is such a big problem here is that these industrial polluters can get away with all kinds of shit here.
in the modern era, which there are people that will give you really hardcore, like, this is what you do. And those answers never survive moving a county over. And they don't survive a fucking time zone. They do not survive. They do not survive coast to coast. Because just the terrain itself will change shit. So you have to figure out, because these are necessary. Your economy will shut down, and then everyone fucking dies if you shut down these industrial areas. Because these industrial areas are not just bringing in rich guy product. Consume. You're freaking out. I don't give a fuck if they can't get iPods. Well, unfortunately for you, also the General Mills distribution areas there, the Procter & Gamble distributions areas there, and all their subsidiaries. So diapers are going through here, grain is going through here, flour is going through here, oil and gas that you need to operate the machines that operate the farm equipment is going through here, the farm equipment itself is going through here, the nuts, bolts, this, that, and the other that build the farm equipment are here or are going through here, as well as every other fucking miscellaneous thing that you could or could not imagine are going through these sites constantly, 24/7 at rates.
There's supposed to be, my understanding is this is supposed to get rather spicy at some point. And the title suggests it, but so far he's just talking about how industrial estates work. So I'm going to fast forward here.
Are literally so unmeasurable at times that this is one of those things where it is sometimes you would have to give me a very good argument why the government should be specifically controlling every aspect of this, just because the sense of scale and the personability of it at a very small level is like hard to maintain track of, because we're talking about, like, you can't taxing the individual like things that goes on. Okay. But sometimes trying to, like, have absolute 100%, like, we have to have somebody in the government say something specific about this thing going on can be onerous to not, like, fucking Fat Cat McGee with his top hat and his spinning little cane, but just Bill's Towing. Bill from Bill's Towing. Bill lives 3 houses down from you. It is not a nice house. You'd have never met Bill. Bill runs Bill's Towing. Bill's Towing is operated out of Bill's fucking house. And he owns one fucking tow truck. Bill gets in his tow truck every day, and he goes to fucking the city in general. He goes to little dollar pay lots and tows people that have not moved. And then he goes to a tow lot that's rated I-12, whatever the fuck in your area. He goes to an industrial lot that he co-rents with 3 other guys and drops off a truck there. He gets a little bit of a stipend from the people that then, like, every time he drops off a truck, he gets fucking $500 or whatever. And then he takes that money. He also sometimes picks people up on the road and drops them here, there, or the other. He has to go to a gas station. This gas station is located a quarter mile away from this truck stop. If you fuck up any aspect of that or add any more difficulty to it, this guy will fucking hate you the way no one has ever been hated on Earth. This is a person that doesn't get brought up.
Well, the thing is, if you actually improve things, that will also at least fuck up his livelihood as a towee. Like, for example, if you had a functioning public transport system, you wouldn't have so many people parking in places where they're eligible for towing. And that will also fuck up his livelihood. So you do have to take that into account, but it's not, I mean, okay, but go ahead. Are we going to say that if an improvement in society might make it harder for somebody, for some particular industry to function, that should automatically mean we just don't improve society that way?
Bill's towing is fucking real. And Bill's life is kind
of... I mean, this was one of the bullshit arguments Obama offered against having a functioning healthcare system, because he said it would put all these insurance industry bureaucrats out of work. All these people whose job is to deny you care would have to find other employment. And it's like, okay, fine. Find something else it would probably be better for them to find something else to do. That isn't really an argument against continuing having this fucked up system that, like, kills, in a good year, 70,000 people.
Nightmare, except for when he gets to go home at the end of the 10-hour shifts he fucking puts himself through every day and watch, dog shit TV and have a couple beers and yell at his wife about, yeah, I'm gonna cut the grass in 3 hours, god damn it, get off my fucking back. Focusing on this dude, what is Bill's drive time? What is the drive time for a small business owner who owns a very necessary, he's keeping them, he's a cop, you know what I'm talking about? What is the drive time for Bill, and how many fucking pounds of CO2 is he putting in the air relative to these 1,000 puts? How much would it be decreased if he could live closer? Would it be better? Would it be worse? Should you start putting...
Well, I mean, I don't think... If his job is driving around the town to find people who are parked in places they shouldn't be parked in, I don't necessarily think that where his house is located is necessarily going to be the decisive factor.
restraints on him? Should you start telling Bill, like, hey, you can only drive tow trucks until fucking 6 p.m.?
Oh, right. Reveroon. I feel maybe that's the context I heard Westside Tyler's name come up in.
p.m. at night, because we want to reduce the overall CO2 impressions or production, just a smaller, more measurable thing, to this much. We know that there's 500 tow truck drivers like you in the municipal district. Coming in, coming out, most of you live here. We know that together you produce, because of your drive times and how much you're driving, you produce 2,000 cubic feet or 2,000 cubic tons of CO2 every year. As opposed to our industrial district, which is located very far over here, it's very well regulated, it's 1,000, but it's very, very far away. Now, do we want to tell you that to not drive through this residential area and make everybody fucking happy from time to time to time? Don't use your Jake brakes, you can get a fucking ticket. By the way, if you have never driven a semi-truck or you don't know any...
I mean, a tow truck driver just seems like a really... Oh, right, he did say that. During the election, when people, because presidential elections in the U.S. are famous for because that's when everybody has their good takes. That's when everybody has just such wonderful takes. It seems like a tow truck driver is a really bad example for what he's talking about, because that is, no matter where a tow truck driver lives, they're going to be driving all over, because that's the job.
Semi-truck drivers, and you hear somebody talking about how bad their tickets are, do not do the why can't everybody balance their checkbook type of conversation that people have with the government to tickets that people that are driving multi-axle vehicles get. They are crazy.
Well, it's a bullshit thing to be saying in the first place, because the thing is, I mean, the way fines are charged in this country, and this isn't how it works everywhere. There are places where fines are based on a unit of your actual income. So it is, as opposed to being a fixed dollar amount as it is here. Like, I mean, you shouldn't be doing the, why can't people balance their checkbooks thing in the first place? Because people are fucked, actually. I mean, that's not the most recent study that came out from, I think the Ludwig Institute, said that what the media in their reporting on it called the bottom 60% of the population, i.e. most people, cannot afford to have like a minimum standard of life. So, I mean, in that context, maybe it isn't about people's ability to balance their checkbooks. Maybe the problem is that nobody's getting paid enough. Maybe the problem is that everything's too fucking expensive and nobody's getting paid.
They are crazy. You're talking about, you think your speeding ticket for going 145 is bad. Just try having like a misinflated tire on the wrong stretch of highway in America. You'll find all of a sudden that like there's a law in fucking southern Illinois that you have to have fresh paint on your fucking rear right goddamn hubcap or something, and now you're looking at like $3,000. Which, by the way, you're still a multi-axle vehicle at Bob's Towing. Bob's a six axle whatever 3-ton tow truck with he's got a Class C type license. I think you could drive a tow truck with. Might be lower, might be higher wherever you live.
Okay.
So he's got his license. He has to get his license redone. He's got special insurance. If he has to risk getting a $2,000 ticket to go to your industrial area now because you're like, hey, I want to make pollution go down, he's now at risk of that if he has a bad day and his brakes on his truck that he personally owns.
Okay, this is
he
weird.
Has to pay for.
All
his
of a sudden,
go a little bit bad.
YouTube's controls aren't responding. I was trying to move that ahead and speed it up, and it wouldn't do anything. So we're gonna reload and hope that fixes it.
By the way, if you have never driven a semi-truck or you don't know any semi-truck drivers...
Okay, that did it.
Hey, buddy. License and registration. Did you know that you can't... We have a noise ordinance here past 8 p.m.? I was literally late. I got stuck in rush hour traffic. It takes me half an hour to get out to the industrial area to drop the cars off where I get paid. It takes me a little bit longer to get out here, and I didn't realize that I didn't realize it was 8 p.m. because it's summer. I would have not even tried to jailbreak. I was just trying to get home. I didn't realize that, because the light is still bright, that it's actually past 8 p.m. So, my bad. Sorry, buddy. That's a fucking $650 ticket. Plus $650 ticket, plus you got to go in and pay it. You're gonna have to pay the court like Bill
Like,
then a lot of people like Bill might start trying to find either a different place to live, a different economic zone to be a part of. Oh, I'm like downtown and it's nice and it's like Matt's fine breads and desserts, but I have to be able to have 15 trucks come through here and park in one of these 3 spots, and that's full of that guy. Well, I'm sorry, you know, we're the police, but we don't own the tow trucks. We can only use our one tow truck.
is this the whole thing going to be about fucking tow trucks?
And then therefore, all the way down the line, people downtown pissed as fuck. Why are the cops not doing their goddamn job investigating these crimes? Cops dying to do it. Literally can't fucking bring more cars in and fucking operate this lot. Everything's just slowed down, backed up because of a tow truck driver that stopped driving tow trucks because of a new law about sound that complicated. And sometimes simplistic solutions can have unseen for circumstances, which also, you know, not necessarily a warning for you, but sometimes consider giving people a touch of grace, a hint of it. If you're like, why is this all fucked up? It might be one of those things where nobody can fix it. So,
well, I mean, it might be one of those things where the problem is capitalism. Though, I mean, in fact, this really sounds like one of those, like, this entire situation that he's describing, if you had functioning public transport in this country, you'd have fewer people, you know, parking illegally. You would not need anywhere near as much parking. You could massively cut down on emissions. Traffic would not be so much of an issue. I mean, there are solutions to this.
also just be aware of someone that's like, I can fix this. What I found is, while this industrial area puts out 2,000 cubic tons of carbon per year, we have found that we could reduce it by just implementing a few noise and sound laws and keeping trucks from running too late at night. Easy peasy. Easy peasy. We found out we could reduce it by 500 or 600 cubic tons a year.
Oh, well, yeah, and I mean, actually, this would be good for the drivers, because that would mean the drivers would have a mandatory rest period. Because one of the things that goes on, I mean, he's talking about the tickets and stuff like that, but it's the employers, the people employing the drivers are screwing them too, because they're making them work ridiculously long hours. They've got all kinds of surveillance in those trucks to make sure they don't take, like, unauthorized breaks or something. So that, you know, they don't go and they don't piss on the clock or something like that. And they end up having to do all kinds of speed just to stay awake on the hours that they have to in order to make these delivery schedules. So actually, something that makes it, something that actually makes it illegal to operate trucks in certain, you know, at a certain hour, whether it's over noise or not, potentially creates a situation that actually could improve the lives of the people doing that job.
By just put it one little law. But one little law can have one extremely massive consequence if you're not in tune with your city, which is one of the biggest reasons why I say get involved in local politics.
I mean, and the obvious thing is, I mean, why should we just take for granted that the person that you fine is the driver? Shouldn't the person you fine be the employer?
Because it's really easy. It's really fucking easy to talk like I do. I mean, it might not be everyone that can do it, but I'm a dime a dozen in the industries that I've worked in. Like there's just a lot of confident white guys with $30 haircuts out there. I hate to break it to you, that can talk your fucking ear off about anything.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly true.
And be just as charismatic as me. And convince you,
or more so,
that they have the plan. And they will be the one that's like, I'm a Democrat.
I mean, that sounds a lot like Vosh, actually.
I'm on your side. I know I'm not from here, but I'm on your side. I'm from Boston. And in Boston, what we did was we started up a late night ban on motor transit for vehicles or 6 axles or more, and we found that it reduced all these things. Now, I'm telling you right now, there's gonna be some resistance to it, but I'm telling you, this is the way to get that thing you want, slight reduction in pollution, done. and it does affect almost anybody. Almost
I mean-
anybody's Bill. Fucking Bill, he lives 2 houses down. He's a weird guy. He smells like fucking chips. He drives a tow truck. Fuck, not anymore. Now he works at Amazon. Because Amazon's so tiring. And guess what? He still drives Uplift at F350. He still drives up to the same industrial center. And then goes back and forth all day. Can't you have times when trucks can drive? Yeah, you can. I'm just telling you, it's not like these are all bad. Like, I'm not telling you anything.
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting is he talks about all of this, and he does not talk about the issue of the working hours and stuff like that, because that is a major aspect of the quality of life of people in these kinds of jobs, that they have to be just always on in order to make these schedules. If you created a situation where there were mandatory rest periods, and it was the employer getting fined if you were driving after a certain amount of time or something like that, and you were entitled to overtime or some shit, then you have a whole different situation. You don't have to, this is like the way, this reminds me of a lot of the shittiest takes on the so-called lockdowns that the US had during the brief period in which we acknowledge that we're in a fucking massive pandemic that is wreaking public health havoc. Because what the US did was to do the most half-assed job possible and then set it up in a way that it was just by definition going to be economically unsustainable for working people, because they weren't getting paid anywhere near as much as they needed to in order to be able to stay home for as long as you would need to in order to knock this thing out. And then they were like, look, it's killing working people. It's like, well, you could have just paid them money. No, we're never going to do that. We're not going to pay people to stay home. What the fuck are you talking about? And it's like, well, that would solve the problem that you're talking about. Yeah, but I don't care about that problem. I just want them back at work. I don't give a shit about public health.
Any of these are things where you're like, oh, fuck, I should never have a rule against trucks. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's like the perfect thing to do. But the real issue is letting people that don't have an understanding of the specific material conditions of your area, of your region, of your economy, make these decisions based on ideological means.
Okay, that's very neoliberal to just sort of use ideological to mean bad.
This is Marxism. This is socialism.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't, though.
I tricked you. Having people that come in and give you a materialist assessment, someone like you who knows Bob, you know Bill, you work in the city, you are...
this isn't a materialist assessment, because, it's, in some ways, it's the beginning of one. But the materialist assessment of things does not just sort of take as a natural given that the fines have to be directed at the drivers, or that there isn't some way that working people, say you had functioning public transport, some sort of light rail system, high-speed rail between cities, something that just would fucking make absolute sense, but would piss off the auto industry, so it doesn't get done. Well, that's going to adversely affect some people some working people who are in industries that revolve around people driving and parking and stuff like that. And what you do then is you say, okay, how do we make this, how do we sort of remedy that for them so that does not get in the way of what is obviously a good idea? You don't have to just say, it's not either or. You don't just say, okay, well, yeah, we could reduce pollution, but it's going to fuck up Bill's towing. We don't want to fuck up Bill's, so we're going to just have to kill the planet a little bit more. This is the sort of bullshit that politicians will use in order to justify. It's like when Barack Obama tried to justify the existing healthcare system by saying that it would put a bunch of people whose job right now is to deny people healthcare out of work. Well, you find something else for them to do.
City politician, you're a lowly whole shoed fucking leather burning. What do you call that? You got a fucking burned rubber. Wear leather? I can't remember. I knocked myself off. But you got holes in your shoes from all the doors you got to knock on, from all the hands you got to shake. The good thing about a real politician is that they go out doing sleazy handshaking shit and talking to people, because there is literally no better way for one person to know more about all the shit going on than to have him be available for everyone to come up, shake your hand, and give him 5 seconds of, hey, dipshit, fucking the goddamn law about not driving after 8 p.m. destroyed my tow truck business. What? I didn't know that was even a thing that could happen. Yeah, it is. Can I tell you more? I don't know. Then that same guy, also journalists are supposed to be doing this, the same fucking conversation down the line with him, or maybe even with a journalist, somebody says, hey, did you know that the tow truck lot is, the tow lot, the impound for the police and their forensics lot are both completely full because we're out of tow truck drivers? I know what I fucking heard the other day. I was talking to a guy. His name was Bill. He smelled like potato chips. Weird fucking dude. But he told me he had to sell his tow truck and quit his tow truck business because of this late night driving law we passed like 4 years ago. It didn't happen, but like he got a ticket, and it was bad enough that like he did the math with his wife and said like, I can't keep doing this. We get another one. It's gonna completely bankrupt. So he sold his tow truck and he quit. Have you heard that happen to other people? I haven't, but I can go check. And then you find out that.
Well, yeah. I mean, except that the thing is, if there is a need, like, what would happen actually, most likely, is that somebody else would come in and pick up that contract, who is a larger operator and can absorb the costs. So you would not necessarily, you wouldn't have this happen exactly.
Guys, like, yeah, we actually had, I checked with the business office.
I'm not saying that's a great thing, because there are all sorts of scams actually around towing companies with city contracts. Now, there was a huge thing, I think it was in Philadelphia a few years ago. It ended up being a huge scandal where there was this thing where they would just sort of grab cars that were parked in just completely normal places, lie about it, charge people exorbitant amounts to get their cars back. Since people need their cars back, they're not gonna waste time fighting it, and it delays their getting their car back, so they just pay it.
Tow truck companies decreased. We had no new applications for 2 years, which is a insanely high amount. An insanely high amount. None. Zero, which is low, you know what I'm saying? And we also lost about 20% of our overall licenses that had been applied for and granted in the last 10 years. So we're down tow truck drivers. We are down to 75% of the total tow truck drivers we've had in the city for years. And we need more, because we just had the off-ramp from I-75 completed, and now we have all of those new vehicles and stuff, and that's one of the
I-75? Okay. That suggests to me that this guy is not actually all that far from where I am. I-75 is my region. I see a West Virginia thing here on his bookshelf.
Population boom, but somehow we have less tow truck drivers. Okay, well, we should probably do something about that. Yeah, we should probably do something about that, because one guy's small problem is actually a massive issue once it's compounded to the fact that it's not that specific guy's problem. It's an industry problem for an industry that people don't pay enough attention to. That's how you end up. And these problems will happen, no matter what. No matter what in politics. You can't predict every variable, but what you can do is, instead of trying to go, I don't know why I turned this to a crash course on fucking materialism.
This is not a crash course in materialism.
What do you call that?
He could use one.
What's the fancy socialist word for it? Dialectical materialism, historical materialism, that's what this means. You go with ideology. I just want the energy.
Those aren't the same things. Dialectical and historical materialism are two very, very different things with very different purposes.
I just want less pollution, which is a lefty thought, right? That's cool. I just want less pollution. I'll do anything to have less pollution. Okay, anything? How about we fuck over the working man? Wait, what? Like, yeah, we fucking almost completely destroyed the...
Well, I mean, the way to really get less pollution would be to just get rid of capitalism, but he hasn't, as far as I can tell, hasn't mentioned capitalism at all.
Economy of our city with an unthought out law. There's other things probably we could do. Pollution is still bad, and we want to get rid of it. But that specific solution for it, because it was ideological instead of based on the material realities and the material concerns of the day, instead of focusing it on it that way...
he's using the word, he's doing this the way like liberals love to do it. With just saying this was ideological, without explaining what he means. Because what he's using that to mean in this case is that a law was made, a noise ordinance was put in force, without taking into account that there might be some downstream consequences that you'd have to address. That's not, I mean, I don't know of any specific ideology that is built around not noticing that.
Ideological way, we just went with the vibes, right? The vibes-based law, and it fucked us. Because also we found out that the lack of tow trucks is causing a series of other little fucking kerfuffles down the road, all of which are just increasing pollution anyway. Crazy, man. It's like when you find out that coal-fired power plants produce more radiation than a fucking nuclear power plant. Did you know that? Did you know that coal's not just coal, and that almost all the shit that comes out of the ground is crazy fucking poisonous, and if you burn it and put it in the air, it's guy stuff. So a lot of coal ash actually is full of fucking radioactive materials that can increase the native radiation
Yeah, also worth noting there are different kinds of radiation.
or level in the area to higher than it would be at a radioactive fucking plant that literally uses specifically radioactive elements of power. Why? Because the radioactive plant puts out steam, and the non-radioactive plant puts out smoke. And smoke is full of pieces, and steam is full of water. Neat, right? I hate small domino to big domino. It always sucks. It's technically, when you describe it as how it happens, and you can actually
Okay, we're towards the end of this. I'm just gonna let it play out. I had heard that he was going to say something very specifically shitty, but actually it's just sort of liberal slop.
There might have been good things that I didn't describe, because my limited analysis, which is me making something up, might not have understood that another good thing happened. You might, when you really get into it, you call it treaty shit. Fucking high on spikes. This is the golden path was actually fucking overbuilt in the tow truck industry. Who knows? You'll never have 100%. But the best way to arrive at a circumstance that you not only understand, but can plan for and assess is by giving a materialist understanding. You literally just start with, what in the fuck am I looking at? What the fuck am I looking at? And once I understand what the fuck I'm looking at, and what the fuck I want done, I say, well, what I want done is this accomplishable thing, which is a real thing that happened, a thing that I can measure, a thing that I can see. And then through that, I go through my hypotheticals, which is the same thing as the scientific method. Beginning and ending in a material analysis of the world. Right? As opposed to underpants notes, which is literally all ideological preconceptions. Which is why I have problems with stuff like to say any little thing that this or that person does. I won't get into specifics because I don't want to get sad again. But when you talk about people like Hassan and their messaging, it's very, very ideological. Who cares if he fucking connects with people? He's just trying to say what he wants to say. How is that going to change anything? I don't know, but would you just want him to not say it? Ideological. Almost every fucking conversation regarding that conflict.
Okay, he said what he wants to. Was the problem? Is he says things
ideological? Why should it happen? Because why wouldn't it? If butthurt is your immediate response to something and not some sort of facts, it's just affront. You might be what we call in the business a rube. BBL Drizzy. BBL Drizzy. Mentatler.
Okay.
Vibes-based law. A lot of them are, man. There's a lot of laws that are vibes-based, especially old ones.
He has this point that you should avoid being a really superficial analysis, but he makes that point by making a superficial analysis that avoids the possibility that you can do more than one thing.
Laws are vibes-based. Most of our vice laws are vibes-based. Even if they have materialist beginnings and ends to a degree, the way that you arrive at what you happen is through ideology. The assumption that possibly, maybe. The belief that it could. The suggestion that how do you know it wouldn't. All of those laws, all of that reasoning is always, sometimes it's the only thing that you can't do, because you just can't know. And in a situation where you actually have established how could you know, and the only way forward is to make a decision, then you have to go to the idealism. It's the worst possible circumstance for making a decision. Because...
Okay, I'm going to just switch over. Let's see what else we've got here. I personally found that a little bit boring. Okay, that's 3 hours. Okay, this is a short one. This is by this is Noah
raised
Sampson.
over $500,000 for Palestinians.
Oh, this is from his epic UNRWA funding stream, which raised something like $500,000, I think, total.
It was a charity stream. It was a week long. We had lots of silly challenges and lots of guests. Thank you to everyone who participated and donated. The link will still be open for a few days, and a recap video will be coming out this week. 2 Israeli embassy workers were shot and killed last week outside of a...
And that is already... I mean, this, in the thumbnail, it says something about lying by omission. And the biggest lie by omission has been not to mention that these were embassy workers at an embassy event promoting the genocide.
Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C. The suspect, 31-year-old Elias Rodriguez, was captured on video yelling, "Free, free Palestine," shortly after being detained. The story received pretty widespread coverage from the media, and the shooting was largely framed as being the product of anti-Semitism. Today I want to...
Oh, God, and Jonathan Greenblatt. The fact that anyone... It really says everything about how little of a fuck people... Oh, Caleb's been doing the abundance thing. Well, in a way, he's been doing that without using the word for a while. You can tell a lot about how serious anyone is about anti-Semitism by the fact that they will take the fucking ADL seriously on the subject. After this year, I mean, they were bad before. They were a dodgy as fuck, just pro-Israel propaganda group before that for decades. But, I mean, with Greenblatt just being like, oh, well, Nazi salutes aren't anti-Semitic. No, you know, Nazi shit isn't anti-Semitic, but if somebody says free Palestine, that's the Holocaust. You know, like, how can anyone treat that shit like it's a legit organization at this point?
At this coverage, and
unless
examines
they
the
themselves are
problems
not
with
legit.
the narratives being made and how those narratives fit more broadly into support for Israel. One thing that'll help that process is today's video sponsor, Ground News. Ground News is a website that allows you to compare coverage of stories from different media outlets. You can sort the stories by political leanings of the outlets and apply filters for things like actuality ratings and ownership information. The two main stories related to the shooting were covered by nearly 1,000 separate outlets. One of these stories, looking at the charging of the suspect with murder of a foreign official, received coverage from nearly 300 outlets. And each one of these 300 can be sorted and categorized using Ground's tools. Ground offers a biased distribution visual for each story and a summary of the main points from each political perspective, as well as a coverage comparison between the outlets. With this story, there isn't really much a divergence on one of the key points, which is the motives of the shooter. Both sides seem to agree that the attack was motivated by anti-Semitism, and I'm not sure that's the case, and I'll explain why in a moment. But first, let's go to Ground.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that that's the... First of all, I mean, Ken Klippenstein, or Stein, I don't know how he pronounces it, I've never heard him say his name, had put out the guy's manifesto. And the manifesto makes it very clear what this is about. You know, this was about outrage at the complete just shamelessness and impunity with which this genocide has been carried out, and the fact that, you know, Israeli officials are just sort of strutting about saying, yeah, we're doing genocide, what the fuck are you going to do about it? And for the most part, they just get away with it. And he was pissed off about that. He was, you know, and he felt the sort of desperation that I think probably a lot of people are feeling, and this is what he came up to do about it. So no, that is, you know, that wasn't the way it's been presented in the media. In some cases, it's been to suggest that it's two random Jewish people that he shot, and that's not true. First of all, one of them is described by people who know him as a devout Christian. Also, he posted really genocidal shit on his social media. But also, you know, they were specifically government employees. The analogy that immediately comes to mind is Ernst vom Rath, the German embassy worker in Paris, who Herschel Grinspan shot as payback for the expulsion of the Ostjuden from Germany. An abundance of cringe, yes
for
indeed.
access to all these helpful tools and to stay fully informed. Get 40% off with my link for unlimited access to the Vantage plan. Okay, so one thing you may notice about the second story is that the title, which summarizes the coverage, is directly quoting Israel's assertion that the attack was motivated by anti-Semitism, that this was an anti-Semitic attack. This assertion is being made despite the fact that there is no evidence of any anti-Semitic statements or attitudes from the suspect, and also despite the fact that one of the victims was not.
In fact, the suspect actually had a Tikkun Olam sign in his window, apparently.
Not Jewish. He was a German-born Christian man who immigrated to Israel. What's also gone largely unreported is the suspect...
That's a thing that they do in Germany, incidentally. Like, there are Nazis who have converted specifically so they can join the IDF. Just so they can go off and murder Palestinians. Hey, Phoenix, how you doing? Like, there's this one guy, I forget his name. Also, Yaron, he added Yaron to his name. He converted, went to the IDF, and then came back and joined the AfD, the new sort of respectable Nazis. And, you know, got to be their token Jew, because, yeah, in Germany, cosplay. There are so many fucking cosplay Jews in Germany. There is a whole thing. It's like, it is the only country in the world where there are weebs for people who are like weebs for Jewish people, and it is weird and creepy, and it's like there is a very distinct Get Out vibe. I mean, I've had people, when they find out I'm Jewish in Germany, they're like, I love the Jews, and it's like, yeah, gonna edge towards the door now. But I mean, it is just totally fucked up.
It's manifesto. Rodriguez
I know that feeling. That is why I don't manage to clean things very well either. The overwhelm is real.
published a manifesto before the shooting, which has been confirmed as authentic by multiple sources. I don't think I can read it on here or even link to it without this video being taken down. So I'm just going to say that...
Which is fucked up. I mean, this whole idea that you shouldn't actually show what, what somebody said about what they did because, then you'd be giving it a platform or whatever. The thing is that if you can't do that, that just makes it that much easier to lie about what it was they did and why. Like, it is useful, actually, that mass shooters often have these manifestos that very clearly put them in the far-right spectrum. Very clearly put them, like, in Nazi territory. Because then we can look at that, those are data points, and we notice, oh wow, mass shooters, a lot of them are Nazis, aren't they? And so the idea that we should just sort of suppress that evidence, which is what it is, it just strikes me as dodgy as hell, and very convenient, particularly to, like, propaganda outlets that want to depoliticize what they're doing and pretend that they aren't fascists.
Fairly easy to find, and if you find it and read it, what you'll see is that the guy was not talking about Jews. He was talking about Israel. It is entirely focused on criticizing Israel and its genocidal actions, as well as anger over its continued support from the West. If this guy's anti-Semitic, why didn't he take the opportunity to be anti-Semitic in a manifesto that he knew a lot of people would end up reading? The ideological
exactly.
Dynamic from Rodriguez has remained consistent.
Not to mention, if the selection of who he shot, he knew that this embassy event was going on because he bought tickets to it. It was a public, it was an event that was open to the public if you had a ticket, and he bought tickets. He knew all about it. This wasn't just like, I've seen it presented as him like shooting random Jews, and it wasn't. That is not what happened. He specifically picked an event that was promoting the genocide and where the Israeli government officials would be present.
From other sources?
I say, for all sorts of reasons, this is not an endorsement. YouTube, don't get excited. I do, however, think it's important to be factually accurate about these things. And that is what...
Yesterday, messages from a group chat he was a part of leaked online. His friends and other members of the group chat testified that while he had plenty to say about Israel, they had never heard him say anything anti-Semitic. Unequivocally no, a woman who knew Rodriguez told me when I asked if he ever made anti-Semitic remarks. Everything I know about Elias leads me to believe he acted in protest of the Israeli state and Zionist ideology, not Judaism. He never ever said anything remotely racist about Jews or anyone, said another woman who knew him, not even in a joking way. I would have sussed it out too, said the woman who identified as half Jewish. People can pick up on stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are all sorts of subtle tells there. Yeah, that is also frustrating because, like, everybody's fucking broke. Everybody is just completely fucked at this point. So...
At one point, a chat member wrote, "I'm almost surprised you're not anti-Semitic, Elias. It usually goes hand in hand with the whole Stalin did nothing wrong mantra," alluding to Rodriguez's support for old-school communism. And Rodriguez wrote back, "One of the biggest things that Stalin didn't do wrong was ending the most anti-Semitic regime ever yet known to man." Despite the lack of any anti-Semitic...
Although he did kind of make a deal with them and was completely unprepared for the fact that Hitler was not going to honor that deal.
statements, and despite the evidence that Israel's genocidal actions seem to be at the forefront of this person's mind, this anti-Semitism narrative stuck. In the media, as we saw before, and also by various political figures. Donald Trump immediately called the attack anti-Semitic.
Yeah, like, shut the fuck up, Donald Trump. You don't get to call things anti-Semitic. You are anti-Semitic.
Plenty of other U.S. officials did the same.
Yeah, fuck Joe Biden, too. He definitely does not get to talk about that.
It elicited some truly vile racist responses in the name of Jews, like Congressman Randy Fine going...
Oh god, that guy is such a piece of shit.
...on national TV to say that the Palestinian cause is an evil one.
The fact of the matter is, the Palestinian cause is an evil one.
Or like Benjamin Netanyahu claiming that Free Palestine is the new Heil Hitler.
If it were, though, then fucking Netanyahu would be making deals with people who say Free Palestine. Because Netanyahu does quite like dealing with people who do 1488. In fact, there were so many fucking neo-Nazis at Netanyahu's latest anti-Semitism conference that even dodgy motherfuckers like Greenblatt didn't want anything to do with it.
Free Palestine is just today's version of Heil Hitler.
Fuck you.
The Shooter's Manifesto received almost no coverage, and one of the few independent outlets that did cover it, the Twitch streamer Hassan Piker, was punished for doing so. His Twitch account was suspended. Covering manifestos of this nature is technically in violation of Twitch's rules.
Which is fucked up. Like, this is news. This is an important piece of information in order to contextualize and understand an active news story. It is fucked up that you're not allowed to just show that. Now let me see. I want to see what was it? Showing a violent extremist manifesto on stream while denouncing it. Speaking out against terrorist organizations while displaying a recruitment video. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, are they specifically saying that it is violative of their rule to be against the... They don't say anything that says anything about being for them.
If you cover them in a critical manner. Hassan acknowledged this and accepted the ban, but also requested that the rule be changed, pointing out that
because the rule is bullshit.
Like this one in the past multiple times, and this is the first time this rule has been enforced. There's reason to believe that the ADL was involved in this decision. The ADL has previously pressured Twitch to ban creators for false anti-Semitism smears, as in the case of the Habibi Pass tier list, where all of the creators involved with the panel received 30-day suspensions. Also, Jonathan Greenblatt, the ADL's director, went on CNN immediately after that.
Yeah, like, this guy absolutely just should not get any kind of platform.
Shooting and baselessly smeared Hassan as an anti-Semite, and also heavily implied that he was responsible for the shooting, at least in part.
All of us need to call it out. I'm thinking about the New York Times.
Motherfucker, you gonna talk about calling out anti-Semitism? You defended a guy for doing a Nazi salute.
Doing a gauzy profile a few weeks ago of this gamer, Hassan Piker, who regularly employs awful genocidal rhetoric against Jewish people.
That's just a lie.
Jewish state. Like, extremists should not be empowered. People who spout prejudice should not be platformed.
Well, you should be careful, Jonathan, because if you took that seriously, you wouldn't get a platform.
This is a moment when we need to look ourselves in the mirror and say, we've got to stop this because the consequences are deadly.
It is imperative that we are able to cover things like this manifesto on Twitch and on YouTube and everywhere for that matter, for basic reasons like journalistic freedom of speech, obviously, but also...
Yeah, and not to mention actually understanding what's going on. Actually understanding what somebody did and why they did it. and any like political context that exists there. That's important. It is important, you know, if you have a situation where, say, most mass shooters are associated with the far right, it's kind of important that we should know that, because it affects how you react to them and what you do about them. If, as opposed to just like this, you know, fucking vague bullshit about, oh, it's just, you know, there needs to be more mental health and gun laws. It's like, I mean, yeah, there needs to, that's not, oh,
because, you know, look what's happened. There's a widespread dissemination of misinformation about the shooter's motives, and that's been enabled by a lack of coverage of what this person actually said. And as much as Israel and his propagandists might not like to hear it, the only material tie that exists between the suspect and the shooting victims is Israel. Israel's committing a genocide of the Palestinian people of Gaza. The suspect made numerous statements strongly opposing the genocide, and the people who got killed worked for the Israeli embassy. It's not commentary on the morality of or a justification for the shooting to acknowledge these facts, ignoring them and opting instead to just make things up, like saying that this guy was a rabid anti-Semite, implying that he just wanted to go out and kill Jews randomly.
I mean, what's interesting is the Squirrel Hill guy, who did want to just kill Jews randomly, and did. He was also a big Zionist, as it happens. Because love Israel, hate Jews is a combination that you find all over the place.
Who may or may not also be Christian. All of that simply obfuscates the reality. It sets the standard that any actions taken against anyone associated with Israel, justified or not, are inherently anti-Semitic.
Which is anti-Semitic.
Israel anti-Semitic, which is how this genocide keeps going on. This is the logic of genocide. This is an ongoing case, and obviously we don't know all of the details yet, but it's for precisely that reason that we should be skeptical and hypercritical of anyone jumping to any conclusions. And now, the most prominent voices that are doing that are the supporters of Israel. They are concluding that violence towards anyone associated with Israel is always anti-Jewish violence, even if the suspect has no record of anti-Semitism, a clear record of anti-Zionism, and even if the victim isn't Jewish. It sounds sort of insane, but, you know, the world is insane. Tens, likely hundreds of thousands of Palestinians have been slaughtered by Israel. Gaza has been almost completely destroyed. Israel is starving everyone in the Strip and locking Palestinians in cages.
There's something like 2,000 tons of aid just fucking waiting to be allowed in.
Just to divvy out breadcrumbs, the loudest...
And actually, Israel took the opportunity when they were in that fucking horrible barbed wire enclosure to open fire on them.
Voices decrying the recent shooting are, of course, the same ones that have said little to nothing about the people Israel has killed. The 20,000 children, the babies starving to death, even going off of
And that's an old number, it's worth noting. We have absolutely no idea. I mean, we can be certain that it's an undercount, a massive undercount. But
estimates of the death toll. In order for the media coverage to be proportionate, there would have to be tens of millions of news stories. But that hasn't happened, and that's just something to think about anytime you see backlash over this sort of violence. Anyways, that's it for the video. Thanks for watching. I got a video recap of the charity stream coming out really soon.
Okay. And we've got a half hour left. Let's see what else we've got. This could be interesting. This is Westside Tyler on Vosh versus Professor Flowers.
Face? I like my face. Do I need to see my face? I do need to be able to see that. Okay, yeah. All right. Well, I'll keep open Discord. So I've never turned on RenPy, and you guys are going to be here for that. Not quite right. I'm going to go with Digital Danny here. Okay, right. Came up with a white guy revelation where I was thinking about this and other stuff, and it kind of like came to a head where I was just like, you know, I wonder what the big issue is with why some people think Like, they get so freaked out by being called a racist, right? Like, you should be freaked out by being a racist. And you should be freaked out by being proven racist, right? Like, you really are racist. But just like...
I mean, so far so good. But it looks like this might be a really slow going. I like to have a little bit more certainty before getting into something. Oh, here we go. Debating the woke right problem. This is from Steve the
Douglas
Destiny.
Murray type crowd who literally sounds like
this is guaranteed
a woke
to be
SJW playing identity politics.
Absolutely wonderful
when
takes
it comes
coming up.
to Israel, which is
Wait, I'm curious.
how I use
Backing
it.
up for a second, what do you think James Lindsay's problem is right now? What do you think the problem he's experiencing is?
This is perhaps the worst analogy I've ever heard in my life. If you're
Who
comparing
is
that
Chad? Can anyone enlighten me on who James Lindsay is?
to what Dave Smith was doing with Paul
Name
Wolfowitz.
is not ringing a bell. I'm terrible with names unless I've
Yeah,
heard
what
them
were
a
you
lot.
watching?
Just this whole, there's like an America tour that turned into a fiasco, and I've been kind of following that.
Is that Dean Withers and crew?
Yeah, or was, yeah.
Or was?
Well, they're now all of them have dissociated from it because the organizer was incredibly racist because she went into a group of black women that were saying that it was sloppily organized and shitty or whatever online, and she said, you guys are kind of like trashing my organizers for no reason, and then they all started screaming at her. She was like, I don't know why you're shouting at me, and then they said, saying that black women are shouting is actually a racist microaggression, and now everybody left the event. I wish I was like giving you a meme recapture, or a recap, but that is exactly what happened.
Oh, well, in which case you can be fairly certain that that is not, in fact, exactly what happened.
Yeah.
This sounds like why Donald Trump won.
Part of it, maybe, maybe. I almost made me.
Wow, Donald Trump won because people were pointing out that there is racism.
Go vote in the past for Donald Trump a little bit, but
That's fair. All right, well, you said you watched my video of destroying one of your cult members who accused me of hiding behind irony to conceal my power level.
Was that what he was doing?
Oh,
Or maybe
okay.
a little bit.
So he's talking with some kind of fashy fuck.
He had a 27 slide PowerPoint.
Jesus. Wait, hold on. Let me check real quick.
He had a PowerPoint?
February 9th. Wait, that's not it. Fuck. What was in this video?
My Destiny friend confronts me.
Destiny fan confronts me for hiding behind
Confronts,
Twitter
yeah.
to avoid me. Oh no! Wait. When did he bring the PowerPoint?
I skipped the PowerPoint.
Oh, you skipped it. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Never mind.
I do appreciate when people come on stream with prepared materials and prepared notes, but
then you skipped it. You skipped it. So
correct. I have 26 slides and he had 27.
Okay. Well, let the record show it. Bad faith interlocutor.
What did you find interesting in it or worthy of conversation?
I guess I was just curious on. I'm just curious why you're such a Nazi, dude. You hate Jewish people. I know it. Just
Oh wow, it's a Spider-Man meme.
Something that's always been really interesting to me, as somebody with a background in music, is you have like broadly speaking, there's like two big ways to kind of evaluate something. I'm making a false dichotomy. People talk about like an objective evaluation and a subjective evaluation, right? So in some ways, we can objectively evaluate musical performance. So for instance, we might say something along the lines of like, this piano piece is incredibly difficult, and the piano player is like a virtuoso. He played incredibly well. It was an incredibly skillful performance. Or we might say things like an objective statement might be, this
So
person...
he's getting to... He's saying this guy is a racism virtuoso? Is that where we're going with this?
And utilized a really wide range of instruments. It's impressive that he, that he had so much going on, in this performance, whatever. Maybe something like that, right? We're pointing to things that, like, it's not really a matter of, like, taste or subjectivity. It's like you're just kind of, like, objectively evaluating some measures of a thing. And then we got this other category called subjectivity. And usually subjectivity is where our I like this thing statements come in. And they can be informed by objective things. So, for instance, somebody might say, like, I really like math rock. And oftentimes, play...
Yeah, you can make objective statements about music theory. Like, music theory has objective...
Like rules and stuff, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, circle of fifths.
different way than the statement, I like Green Day, right? Because we have something that we're looking towards objectively. Much the same that I could say something like, in this...
Okay. I'm trying to skip ahead to where we talk about whatever the hell the woke right is, rather than music theory.
Like jokes, who the target is, or like what he's like joking about. Like, oh, I get it. It's funny because of this thing. Yeah. And I guess when I watched, so sometimes I think, I'm trying to remember, it was a while ago when I watched this conversation. We should just talk immediately. See, but you schedule these days and days out so that I don't remember it, and now you've defanged me. No, I'm just kidding.
You should improve your memory.
I think this might have had to do with like the Zog stuff or something like this.
The Zog stuff?
I guess when I was listening to the...
Oh, okay, this guy's a Nazi then.
Supposedly my fan. No, allegedly my fan. Okay. When I see him fighting with you, the feeling that I got a little bit was you were defending kind of like this pointless, aimless irony a little bit. But I remember, and then I kind of wondered, like, well, maybe.
I think I know what you're referring to. My point was.
Okay, I was going to say, because maybe your understanding of irony and mine are different, and I just disagree with your understanding of it. But then I remembered how I know of you. Originally.
I mean, I don't think either of them has much of an understanding of irony. That is a very good point, Riveroon. There are animals. That is definitely a pretty good reason to go to continue, I would have to say.
And it's because you made the League of Legends videos. And those videos were, those weren't like, what goofy random jokes can I make about Destiny, right? It was, here's a...
Targeted.
Yeah, but they all had like a point. They referred to... That's why they were so funny. Yeah. So it's
like a higher...
Kind of. Yeah, exactly, yeah. Okay, yeah, go talk. I'm just curious. Also, this truly is not... I'm not trying to catch your debate. I'm just curious for your thoughts.
I know. Yeah, I believe you.
Okay.
I believe you.
So if you...
of Israel and their actions, that's ridiculous. I'm an American. Everyone should be like me. We're God's chosen people. But then the other part of me is like, well, I do believe my American sensibilities are best, but I also don't necessarily think it would be better if there were no Irish, or that Ireland was not mostly Irish, in the same way that if Japan was not mostly Japanese.
You're like, okay, what the fuck?
And even in principle, if Israel was not mostly...
I wish you could get the support you really need. I wish we all could get the fucking support we really need.
A Jewish state. I can, even though I'm very critical of Israel and their actions and whatnot, in theory, I don't know, I suppose I could be convinced in the validity of an ethno-state, maybe. Although, as of right now, am I going to
say okay, in theory he can be convinced of the validity of an ethno-state?
I love, I don't know what the Irish, the IRA, are they coming back? The Irish National Republican Army, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So if I make
the Irish National Army is literally just the regular army of the 26 county state.
It's like, wait, is he supportive of Irish nationalism? I can't really tell. It's like, that's because it's genuinely reflective of a real split in me.
I would say...
Yeah, except here's the thing. Like, Irish republicanism, one of the things about it is not about ethno-states. In fact, if you look at there is like something of a fascist resurgence in Ireland right now. And if you look at the people driving that, it's people who will wave Irish flags when they're down doing their Nazi shit in the 26 counties. And then they go back home to, fucking Cullybackey and Coleraine and Ballymena up north, and around the 12th of July they go and burn Irish flags. Yeah, I mean, they are British settlers who are like sort of cosplaying as Irish Nazis, despite the fact that actually they are supporters of British occupation. And in fact, the paramilitaries that have been the backbone of the British occupation of Ireland since partition have long-standing relationships with, like, Nazi groups. Hello, Shakespeare.
In that case, I think it's perfectly acceptable to do.
Sure. I would say in that case, semantically, I don't think that's meta irony. I think in a way it's irony. I think that there's a difference between being unclear about what you are showcasing versus showcasing a lack of clarity. So, for instance, when people look at Congress in the United States right now, and they say Congress is dysfunctional because they're not passing any legislation, I look at Congress and I go, are they dysfunctional because they're not passing any legislation? Or is Congress actually accurately resembling the American people right now, who are historically insanely divided? Now, what's the case that all people
Except
are kind of
actually, that's just not true. If you look at the polls, and this isn't something that has changed recently, this is something that goes back quite a long time, there is a division. There is a very stark division, but it is the division between the majority of the population and the entirety of the political class on a wide variety of issues.
like we really need to do a couple things, and Congress wasn't doing it. Oh, that is pretty dysfunctional. That's not good. Congress is...
Well, I mean, there are a couple of things that most people have been really wanting for a very long time, and Congress just outright refuses them.
Dysfunctional.
Like having a national health care system.
Not passing any legislation. But if somebody looks at Congress now, they go, Congress is really dysfunctional, they're not passing any legislation. I go, no, they might be dysfunctional.
I mean, I would say it's really good that Congress isn't passing any legislation, because whatever legislation they would be passing would be fucking bad.
Functional, kind of, but that dysfunction is actually a representation of the dysfunction of the American people. All that to say that if you were to make a joke about I went to sign up for a sporting event, and I wasn't even sure what gender category to sign up for, or whatever, because all these new terms or whatever. Right? You say some joke like this, or whatever. I don't know, right? Now,
yeah, I like the joke of ever since I got my COVID shot, I started slicing my golf shots.
What does that mean? I don't even know what you slice a golf shot.
It means hooking your left, it means hitting your golf ball, wait for the right thing you wanted.
That's
so the joke is like, yeah, that's bad. You don't want to do that.
Okay.
And so ever since I got my COVID shot, I've been slicing my golf shots. And the joke is like, well, wait, are you actually against the COVID shot? Because you have been slicing your golf shots. And I'm like, are you? Is this like a?
Like, yeah, that isn't a joke. That's just what is the joke there in the first place?
Well, how many cookies in the oven type of joke? When you say something that's innocuous, means something.
Sure. But I would say that like that. So we would have to look at the context of like a whole thing. But I would say generally that type of joke. The joke is that.
I mean, that type of joke is not a joke. There isn't a joke. That's just. Yeah, it's missing. It has no punchline. It is a punchlineless joke.
I think the vaccines are probably not safe, right?
Yeah, or it's like, or I'm willing to make a joke like that because I'm not sure.
Sure. Although, well, it communicates more on one side, I think, than the other side, right?
And to skip ahead.
I just had a debate with Pisco, and I put it on my channel. It's called "Debating a Lawyer About Donald Trump Using Pure Vibes."
Okay.
So obviously that's a meme title, right? And it's like, well, because people would say, "Oh, Paul, you're so stupid. You say all these things that are so dumb." Blah blah blah. It's like, well, that's relevant to me. What matters is what I'm observing the consequences of me doing these things. This is my fourth conversation with you. The last conversation went off the rails, I would say. And by any objective standard, you might say, well, this was very dumb. Paul came off really stupid and stuff. And perhaps I did. And in some ways, I absolutely.
Does anyone know who this guy he's talking with is?
Really did. I would agree with that. But that's beneficial to me.
Apart from having very tall hair.
My reaction to that, other people's reaction to that, and if need be, check and adjust accordingly. And I think that I think people are interested in that inherently, of genuinely trying to understand like what exactly is going through Paul's mind, not like hiding power level and all that dumb shit, which so many background and SS tattoos on his neck, and I was like, okay, fuck, there are.
Hang on, okay.
Adventure, or whatever you want to call it. I did see someone that I had spoken to previously interviewing a guy with a swastika flag in his background and SS tattoos on his neck, and I was like, okay, fuck, there are Nazis, and
wow, he noticed that there are Nazis.
It is appropriate to call some people Nazis.
You think?
So, but what you're asking is, how do you know which mimetic territory is worth fighting over? And it's all case-by-case basis. It's sort of like saying, I mean, I contextualize everything in the context of a meme war, right? It's a war between ideas, and it's literally like you're playing a strategy game. It's like, how do you know?
Wow, yeah, I mean, this is how you know that This is somebody for whom the stakes are non-existent. And they're like, oh yeah, this is great, this is like playing Risk. Like,
you know, which battlefield is the best to fight the, you know, a battle on? It's like, well, there's a multitude of factors and you don't ultimately know. And with terms, yeah, like white privilege. Like, Jordan Peterson has a clip of him saying, like, there's nothing more racist than saying white privilege.
oh, I can think of things more racist than saying white privilege. I mean, it's not even fucking hard. You could do a top 10 of the most of things in any given stream that Steve the Destiny has said that are more racist than saying white privilege.
Targeting a collective group with a crime, or something like an ethnic group with a collective crime. And it's like,
It isn't a crime, though. It's just pointing out a particular social status that exists in a particular social structure.
I mean, I get that point, but now you have it's a fact of the matter question. Are you better off operating in a pre-established linguistic framework, or is it better to resist it? Right, and like woke right is a perfect example. That's one right now, and like James Lindsay is the one who popularized the term woke right. Or,
okay, here we go. Finally, we get the woke right, whatever the fuck that is.
I think he popularized it, it's fair to say. I don't know if he coined it. But
He's been
you know, the
having
idea
a lot
was
of fights over that recently.
correct. Yes. Well, and I think he is. I don't know why he is acting the way he is acting. I think he's making serious mistakes in how he's approaching things.
Oh, what do you mean by that? I'm curious. Or wait, finish your current thought, and then yeah, I'm actually really curious about that.
Oh, yeah, well, woke right. So the argument is, well, you know, should people even use a term like woke right, or should it just be ignored? And yeah, it's all case by case. It's like, well, it's sort of like evaluating the quality of it. It's like,
I mean, I'm gonna just go out on a limb and say probably they shouldn't. Probably they shouldn't, because almost certainly it is in one way or another a shitty term, and I don't even know yet what they mean by it. But I'm guessing woke is not meant as a compliment, and anytime you hear woke as a pejorative, you can be pretty sure that you're gonna hear some fucked up shit.
or like you were saying earlier, you can make objective statements about the quality of you didn't say this explicitly, but you like the quality of art, right? You can objectively say like some art is of higher quality than other art, right? You can kind of objectively say that.
No, I mean, how do we get here?
There are some like objective ways to define quality. So we could say a limited number of things produced by a world-renowned artist is quality, or the amount of time somebody.
Well, yeah, I mean, but that's not quality though. That is just by whom it is produced, and that is literally quantity, actually.
These are objective things that we could say is theoretically like.
Well, no, that's like Liber theory of value ways to do it, which is lame. I'm talking like for example, you seen Game of Thrones?
Right, of course. Unfortunately.
Okay, unfortunately, right now up until the last, I don't know exactly when it went off the rails, but let's say the last season.
Last 4 seasons.
Arguably it was. Last 4 is too many. I think people say 2, but whatever. Fine.
I don't care what people say. After Tyrion leaves King's Landing, it's gone from that point. Okay.
The point is, I would say it sort of ruined movies and TV for me because I compare everything to the first 5 seasons of Game of Thrones, and it never meets the criteria. I stopped watching Last of Us. It's not good. But then, so here's what happened. You had everyone who watched it was saying it's such a great movie, or a great TV show, and then everyone
When are we
fundamentally different.
Are we ever going to actually talk about whatever the hell the woke right problem is?
Than mine. I mean, allegedly, because we can't prove consciousness. It's like, that's... When you said it's fundamentally unsatisfying, it's like, no, I think it speaks to a fundamental personality difference between you and I. And not just you and I as people, but you and I in terms of the personalities that we, I don't want to say represent, but, have, that are distinct from each other. Where it's like, I am so okay with subjectivity and heuristics and vibes and intuitions. I don't know, taste is the wrong word. I don't know. It's hard for me. I don't think you have good judgment of people when it broadly, because of the things you say about conservatives, for example, and the degree to which it seems like it undermines your own goals of. Again, I don't know what your goals are, but we've had this.
I mean, his goals are very clearly just to make a whole bunch of money being an asshole. And he really does not seem to give a shit about the stakes of anything that he talks about. I mean, except perhaps when he's talking about how so many people have come forward about, like, the fact that he's a fucking sex pest. He probably does care about those stakes. But other than that, he just doesn't give a shit about anything.
Conversation before of like, it seemed to me it's like a consequentialist type thing. It's like if you had good judgment in people's personality types and how they receive information.
Okay, and I just noticed it is actually time to wrap up. Never really quite got going this time. Have to find, I need to find some more material. That's the annoying thing about these people who don't, like, edit their shit. Like, if you're going to post it, edit it down so it can be the shitty take that I'm going to want to respond to, so I don't have to listen to your boring-ass discussion of music theory. I mean, not that I find music theory actually interesting. I find, but I'm not watching fucking Destiny videos to hear them talk about the fucking Circle of Fifths. I'm hearing it so he can say some whack bullshit that I can respond to and dunk on. But it is time for me to wrap up. Thank you to everyone who joined in. I'm always happy to see you. I hope you enjoyed the stream, despite it being sort of stuck in second gear for much of the time. And I will be back at 11:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time tomorrow night, and I look forward to seeing you then. Have a good rest of your night.